As a professional photographer, what equipment do you take traveling for an out-of-state wedding or an international wedding? You're flying out of the country. What do you take? What kind of bags? What kind of cameras, lenses, lights? How do you do it? That's what this video is about. I'm Bry Cox, BryCoxWORKSHOPS.com. This is a question that was posed not directly like my normal Q&A. It was just something I saw in one of the chat rooms on Facebook, a photographer asking questions, and a lot of various answers. And well, I put a lot of thought into this because I've done international weddings. I've done a lot of out-of-state weddings. I travel usually about once a month for something somewhere. And my bag is kind of packed like this all the time. The only thing I changed a little bit is my lighting for travel. So I want to go over some of this with you. So the first thing, some of the key things, we're going to talk about equipment and bags and lighting and all of that. But one of the key things to think about is you always want 2 or 3 options for everything. And I want the key things with me on my body in my carry-on that doesn't get checked. Why? Because it's actually paid off. There's been a couple times. In fact, one time I remember I flew to one job and I flew directly from that job to another job. And I think the first one might have been in Canada and the second one was in DC. And then I flew home. And on every leg, my checked baggage was always delayed and would come to me as I'm going to the airport. So for the entire trip, I had nothing but what I had in my carry-on. And I was able to do all my jobs, fly home. Did I have everything I absolutely wanted? No, but I had everything that I needed because I had it in my carry-on and had to make do with the little things that I didn't make it, right? Because that's what happens. If the airline loses your bag, you don't get it like immediately. You get it about 24 hours later. They get around to it. They find out what hotel you're in and then deliver it. So one of the first things you need to think about is, what do I absolutely need to do this job well? And I need redundancy, 2 to 3 options for everything. And then, so I'll show you my bag. They don't make this bag anymore, but I love this bag. And to just give you some things to think about in terms of your bag. But this is just a roller bag, and this was made by Pelican. They call this it's a soft bag. But what I like about it is that it fits any plane, not just the big planes, but it fits the little RJs. Now that looked kind of thick when I lifted it up, right? But the bag actually zips in half and it becomes 2 bags, which is genius. And that allows me to get a little bit more in there, but it doesn't look like I've got 3 bags when I'm walking through the gate. Because you can't have 3 bags. So if I have this and then just my leather bag, I can use this leather bag for everything I need, like under my feet. Laptop, iPad, my little small camera, things like that, little mirrorless, that kind of stuff, right? So I've got all of that there. And then in my other roller bag, which is carry-on, I've got all of my essential camera gear. And even though they don't make this one anymore, there's a lot of great bags you can get through camera stores, like a professional camera store. I don't believe in dealing with non-professional camera stores. So people like Arlington Camera, my friends in Texas, right? They have brands like Think Tank, was it Low Pro? They've all got some bags that are designed specifically for airplanes, but you want it to fit in an RJ, not just the biggest plane, but the smallest plane, those regional jets, because they have little things above your head, and you need to be able to get that bag in there. Otherwise, you have to check it. And if you look out the window and how they treat the bags that are checked, they're playing hacky sack with them out on the tarmac, right? They're just chucked and dropped, and your gear's got to be protected. So, you can also do a Pelican hard case, things like that. So, if I open my bag, I've got a couple camera bodies, SLR types. I'm actually using one right now for video. I believe in having 3 options, especially for cameras. Now, your third doesn't have to be the newest, greatest camera, right? So usually what I have is the newest, greatest camera is my main camera, the one I shoot. The next oldest camera, I like Nikon. Canon's just great too. Whatever your brand is, whatever that next oldest model is, that just stays in my bag as my backup. And then as a third backup, I like these little small mirrorless cameras that are manual, all control, full control, dials, shoot and raw, hot shoe. So they may not be as big and you may not have as many options for lenses and things, but what's great about them is in an emergency, as a third camera, for instance, I can pull this out and continue shooting. So you always need a couple cameras. If you don't own a few, then you need to rent one for your jobs. And I know it may cost you like an extra $80 or $100 to have an extra body, and you may not use it. You may think, it's a waste of my money. Not until you need it. You always need a couple things. So I got a couple camera bodies. When I travel, I tend to travel with more basic lenses, light lenses, things like that. So obviously, some kind of a zoom lens, some kind of like a portrait lens, like this one here is 85 1.8. I've got just a few options that way. I always have with me, of course, some white balance options. The Expo disc by Expo Imaging. In fact, I've actually got 3. Again, I'm a big believer in redundancy. So I've got 3 of those. If I'm shooting commercial work, then I also have the color checker that I set out on the product and do one last color check with that as well. Multiple batteries, and I use these cases, right? So I load them up with the batteries. I also load up my lights and stuff with batteries before I go. And then lots of things, just, things like my meter. Always need a meter. And here's one of the kickers is when I'm traveling, I tend to use small flashes and not my big studio flashes. So as great as these are, and as much as I love ProPhoto and these awesome lights, I tend to not travel with them unless it's something local here. So they come with some really nice cases that are great for traveling locally, but I don't want to travel with those by air. If anything, if I need those, so I kind of have a price limit. If someone's spending over X amount, I'll use these, but if it's on location, I rent them. And a lot of places will rent and ship to you. They show up at your hotel, you arrive at your hotel, use the lights, you pack them back up, ship them home, fly home, right? So things like that. But for the most part, most weddings, families, things like that, I'll do 3 of these. So what do I lose and what do I gain with small lights? Well, I gain a lot of space because what I can do is I can take this little top unit off right here and I can put this in my camera bag, fold this all up as small as possible, and put my actual flashes in my camera bag. So there, I actually have my lights, and I actually have at least 2 radio remotes, like transmitters. And so, in fact, I even have a third one that I recently picked up. This is all photic. So this is the Aries, and what I like about this is it's generic. And so this would work on even, say, my little mirrorless. I'd work on a Sony, it'd work on a Canon, work on a Nikon, work on anything, fire my same flashes under an extreme emergency. But for the most part, a couple of these. So what do I gain? I gain space. What do I lose? I lose a little bit of power, which means slow recycle time, and to choose up batteries, things like that. But I like having 3 of these. Why? Because with the sun, I got a 4-light setup. If I want 4 lights, if something goes down, I can run with just 1, right? And I've got multiple options. Again, at least 3 options. But the nice thing is too, if I was just out of town shooting a big family portrait, and I was able to put 2 on one side, 1 on the other, set them manually, of course. I've got a whole course on lighting and how I run all these. It's about a 3-hour course on my website, BryCoxWORKSHOPS.com, either on demand or DVD. So if any of this is confusing, I go into how to use all of this kind of stuff manually. But what I can do is I can put, say, 2 on this side, 1 on this side, create some ratios that way. I could put 2 out, different levels, 1 behind, maybe the sun behind, or I could put all of them together on one side, feathering them. Always have at least a couple umbrellas. So these are photics. You'll notice that the lights are different, right? This one, let me get that in the screen. There we go. This one is actually the receiver and the flash in one unit. And this is a Nikon flash with just the Odin receiver. Why that way? Because I already had Nikon flashes. So I've got a couple of these and 1 of these, but I got umbrellas, and I really like the soft white because I can shoot through them or bounce off them and create something really soft. Or I can shoot bare bulb and get something really sharp, want something really like kind of model, commercial looking. And here's what's great is this goes in my camera bag and my stands go in my luggage. So what kind of luggage? Well, I've worked on a few things over the years. I've tried long bags. I've tried even like a musician keyboard bag, which is like a great big long skinny thing, and I'd put all my stands in there, and I even tried a soft case that I would roll up and then bungee and keep it really protected. And I even traveled with some of my studio lights before for out-of-state gigs, but they kind of come home banged up because airports they bang up your gear. So what's nice about something like this is this stand, these fold up so small that I can put them in like a normal piece of luggage, something like this that you'd get like at Costco, and they'll fit diagonally, right? I can put all of my stands in diagonally and then use a little bit of clothing that I'm going to take, which is bare minimum clothing. But I use my clothing as padding, just wrap around, those kind of things. So all my stands in there. Worst case, if I don't, like I've had before, my luggage doesn't make it, I can hold my flash, right? I can put a monopod, stop at a Walmart and buy a monopod to plug in there, and I keep extra knuckles to kind of hook these little brass knuckles so I can pop them onto something makeshift, right? So I've got options for bare minimum just in case. And the truth is, with even just a couple of these, I don't like to shoot TTL, but I can. But because they have TTL capability, especially with the right radios like Photix, I can do pretty much anything with even just one of these. But I add 2 or 3, and I can really shoot anything. Of course, studio lights are preferable, but out of town, I can kill it with this. I can shoot an airplane, I can shoot a family of 30, I can shoot kids, I can shoot a wedding. The big thing is having lots and lots of batteries ready to go. All right, so the next thing is smaller stands. So this is a low pro. I just picked these up because they're so small. I've even taken this on my motorcycle, right? It's small enough that I can put that almost in my carry-on or drop it. This has a thing along the side where I can drop the stand in. So if I want to carry one stand with me in my carry-on, this drops into the side and straps to it. But for sure, this will fit in about any piece of luggage. So really, with 2 to 3 bags, 2 carry-on, 1 check bag, I've got all of my gear. The last thing is some kind of tripod. Now, obviously, I like big, robust, sturdy tripods. This is a very small or lightweight. This is an Enduro with a Manfrotto ball head, but it's the, what do they call it, carbon fiber, so it's really lightweight, and it's really small this way, and it's got the same head, so I don't have to switch heads when I'm taking it off my strap. And just pop this on here. What's the other one I've got? I got a Me Photo. I've tried a bunch of small ones. In fact, pretty much every time I'm in Texas, I tend to buy another tripod. I've got them for video, I've got them for everything. But for just, what I like about this one is it gets pretty tall. Not as tall as I'd actually like, but if you get taller, right, then you get a bigger tripod. But for as small as this is about as sturdy and tall of a tripod, so it's great for doing families out on location. And then my shooting vest, and you've probably seen me in other videos wearing this, but what I like about a shooting vest is that I can keep, especially when I'm moving around on a location, batteries, right? One of the nice things about these two is they run on batteries. You're not thinking about running cords, you don't think about big batteries for, the great big robust batteries for like studio things. There's just AA's. So I can load up on, say, AA's, extra camera batteries, absolutely, and all, lenses, extra body, whatever. I can keep that all on me, and I'm set that way. So, okay, we talked about bags, we talked about cameras, lenses, of course, strap. This is the Black Rapid. This is my favorite strap. It's the Sport, but I've also got smaller ones for like my point and shoot. I've got the double rig in case I want 2 cameras, but I tend to most likely just have 1 camera on. So I use that. And what's nice about this and my vest is the vest actually peels back, and I put this on, and then it snaps down, and it's got Velcro, and it holds my strap in place even more securely. So, the strap goes here, it ties around, but it just is really super secure that way. And I like this whole system where it doesn't scratch up your suit or whatever clothes you're wearing. The strap stays put, the camera slides. It's very nice. So there's all that gear. The last thing then is your redundancy, insurance, backups, things like that. So the first thing you want to do when you get back to your hotel room is make a copy, and I make multiple copies. So you have a laptop. People are like, I don't want to have to take my laptop. Then don't be a photographer because you need to go home with more than just your little card. That card is not going to save you. And there's so many stories, oh my goodness, of photographers, I mean, think about it. Your images are not secure until you are back home, things are downloaded, things are spread across some kind of a redundancy backup system. People get their, especially if you're out of the country, they get their car stolen, they get their bag stolen. You get some gas, someone's reaching inside your car, they're stealing your bag, your everything, right? You stop maybe just to get something to eat, or maybe you take a few days of vacation. You're in some exotic location, stuff gets stolen. Guess what? You're on the hook for not just your gear, but all the lost images. Even just out of state, things like that. I've heard, in fact, the reason why I started backing things up is a photographer, a friend of mine, years and years ago, like 15 years ago or so, his laptop was broken by TSA at the airport. They're inspecting his bag, they look at his laptop, drop it, broke his hard drive, ruined everything, didn't have a backup to any of his photographs, right? So think of all the things that could go wrong between your wedding and you getting home. Car getting stolen, gear getting stolen. TSA has screwed up a lot of photographers' laptops, not even just dropping them, just screwing them up. So what you want to do is immediately, you want to download those images to your computer. And then what I've done is you get these little hard drives like this, like at Costco, and they're huge, like 4 terabytes or something. I'll partition it in half. So I'll cut the drive in half. I'll make one a time machine. Because a Mac, you plug it in, automatically backs up. Everything on the hard drive. It'll back up the entire shoot. Everything on the hard drive gets backed up to half. The other half I keep as just open space that I can just drag that shoot in. So here I got 2 copies of the photo shoot. Time machine and regular. Right? But I'll take another hard drive and I'll copy it again. So here's a good kind of reminder. You don't want to be shooting tons and tons and tons of photos. Right? This goes back to my whole lighting program where you want to shoot fewer images but more variety. Because if you find it takes you all night to download your wedding because you shot thousands of photos, right, then you're shooting way too many photos. You got to be a little more specific, a little more careful, shoot better images, higher quality, fewer images, right, and it makes it super easy to back up. So I take another hard drive, I back it up for like, what are these, like $80 perhaps. Take this and I put it in an envelope, padded, it's already addressed, I put this in and I mail it home, especially if I'm out of the country. Or you put some DVDs and notice how I've got like some religious pictures of Christ on here. Why? Because this was for a wedding I did when I was out of the country in Mexico. Because I'd heard so many bad stories from religious missionaries who would go to the post office to get their box, their care package from their family, and the guy delivering their box, the box is open and the guy's wearing the shirt. And he's like, I know that's my shirt. It's specifically my shirt, I can tell. Nope. Here you go. Like they're thieves, right? The Postal Service are thieves. The cops are thieves. It's so much corruption down there. But what they tend to do is they try to steer away from stealing religious artifacts because they feel like there's like a superstition there. So what do? I printed off the internet some pictures of Christ and I kind of laminated it with tape and I pre-addressed it. And all I need to do is go to any DHL, FedEx, post office, whatever, fill in whatever rest, pay for it, drop it in, and I've got right, it's pad, I got DVDs ready to go so I can back it up to some big DVDs or drop my hard drive in. So then for like say $20, I have got a backup coming in the mail. So if everything goes wrong, and by the way, these extra hard drives, one stays on me and one does not go in here. One may go in my little leather bag. So I got one in my camera bag, that's my laptop for instance, one in my leather carry-on, and one stays in my pocket at all times. And I've got shirts like this with like pockets that I can hide things in if I need. And it just stays with me at all times. So if all my stuff gets stolen and I stop in to eat, I've still got a backup to everything. So backups. The last thing is insurance. If you're a member of PPA, Professional Photographers America, you have to opt in, but as a member you get free indemnity coverage, which protects you against say screwing up a wedding or losing photos. So it helps you recreate those if needed. But you also need some business insurance and things that just protect you in case of something bad. Equipment loss, right? PPA has insurance for that, but you need protection against all of those things. So I get it, all of this costs just a little bit more, right? Because we've got things like nicer bags, extra camera bodies, lenses, hard drives, a laptop. Sometimes photographers, their only computer is their laptop. They don't want to take it, right? Or they only have a desktop and not a laptop, right? So Again, I know all these little things cost a little bit, but this is how you protect yourself against issues or problems. So if you don't have everything you need, think about renting them for just that event, charge a little more. And I hope this helps you. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you agree, disagree, of course, comment below, let me know what you think. And keep in mind, I have full courses, like hours-long courses on just lighting, hours-long courses on just getting expression, getting strangers, kids, people to open up, give you fantastic expressions. I've got a 6-hour course plus on just sales, high-end sales for professional photographers, right? Hours long on just Lightroom Photoshop workflow. I'm sponsored by Adobe at big events, so it's all the best information. All of this is on my website, either on demand or on DVDs. My website's my name, Bry Cox, BryCox, Workshops.com. All right, you guys, until next time, America.